The battle over Obamacare has gotten so dirty that yesterday the Democrats leaked embarrassing emails showing how Republican House Speaker John Boehner hid his efforts to protect the long-standing health care subsidies for members of Congress and their staffers. If this doesn't make everybody who is on the fence, and I don't know anybody who is on the fence, if you are on the fence about John Boehner and his cronies, his buddies in the GOP, everybody is talking about how the GOP is eating itself. Good. You need to run people like John Boehner and Lindsey Graham out of the party. They need to be on the steps of the Capitol saying, I didn't leave the Republican Party, they left me. Yes. We're going to leave all the crooks and the criminals and the liars behind. This is going to outrage you. Yesterday, the Democrats released a letter from John Boehner's office to make sure that they kept their exempt status. Emails from February and July showed how Boehner and Harry Reid lobbied the president to save the subsidies, setting up a secret meeting so that Boehner's office wasn't known for doing this. Listen to this. This is a quote. These are quotes from Boehner's chief of staff to Harry Reid's chief of staff. We can't let it get out there that this is for Boehner and Reid to ask the president to carve out the requirement of Obamacare. This is according to Boehner's chief of staff, Mike Summers. He wrote to Harry Reid's top aide on July 17th. We can't let it get out there that we're going over to the president to lobby him to carve out a special exemption for those of us in Congress. This is a little bit difficult because it isn't a routing meeting because Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell will not be there. Quote, I am even okay if it is the president just hauling us down to talk about the next steps on immigration. I really don't care what they say it's about. It just can't be what we know it's about. This is John Boehner. This is your Speaker of the House. This is your politician that you elected. This is exactly what we've been saying they're doing. They are making special deals behind closed doors. They are one part and parcel with the Democratic Party. They are in bed with them, and they're lying to you. Boehner and Reid were successful in overturning the government ruling, saying that by joining the exchanges, they would lose federal subsidies worth an estimated $5,000 to $12,000 per recipient per year. Is there not a reason? I mean, help me out. Tell me why you are still for the Republican Party. Now, here's what people will say to me. Well, Glenn, we don't want a third-party system. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And here's how it works. You get the people like Boehner and you get the people like John McCain to leave the Republican Party, and they become independents or Democrats. I'm telling you, we're not going to be the third party unless the third party is more along the lines of the Whig Party. If they want to stay in the Republican Party, that's fine. If this is who the Republicans choose to be, that's fine. But I have nothing to do with you. I'll have absolutely nothing to do with you. And if you've ever given a dime to the Republican Party, you need to call them up and say, I'm not giving you another cent. When the millionaires and the billionaires and the people that really count, unfortunately, in this particular situation, I'm sorry, but they don't care about the people who give them $10. There's a lot of individual politicians that do. There's a lot of individual charities that do. For those of you who happen to believe, and you've given $10 or $1 million to the Republican Party, you need to call them up today with this story and say, this is an outrage. John Boehner should step down. I've never seen, and there's no way out of this. There's no way out of this. John Boehner knew exactly what he was doing. John Boehner, while his signature is not on this, his chief of staff is going to be the one. If people even care, his chief of staff is going to be the one that takes the fall for it. But it's not the chief of staff. It's John Boehner. The Republican Party needs to go the way of the Whig Party. I don't care what you call it. I don't care if it's still the Republican Party. I don't care. I really don't care. But they're dead to me. They are done. Not another dime to these guys. Now, individual politicians, you bet. But here's how you do it. You go find people like Louis Gohmert. Louis Gohmert, there is no reason why we have somebody like John Cornyn. There is no reason why we have him in Texas. None. These weasel Republican liars. This next election needs to be the last election. For these kind of people, they all need to be kicked out. If they're not standing up and fighting the good fight now, even against all odds and saying we can't win, I don't really care. Do you know how many Americans feel that way? We can't win. How many Americans right now, how many people who are running small businesses think to themselves, we can't win? I get up every day and something inside of me says, you're never going to win. And I know exactly what that something is. I don't care. I'm fighting on. If we don't have politicians who get up every day and say, you can't win. Yeah, I know. And I know exactly who's telling me that. I don't care. I'm fighting the good fight. I'm moving forward. I'm not relinquishing my sword. I'm not putting it down. I'm fighting on. Till my last breath, I'm fighting on. If you have a bunch of those people, if you put Louis Gohmert and maybe one other person, you got that weasel Lindsey Graham out of office, and you take Texas, and now you have the two great senators from Texas, and you replace Lindsey Graham. Do you know what a force you have? John Boehner. Hey, do you happen to have the audio of John Boehner when he fought it the whole time, and when finally they send the resolution over saying we're not going to fund it, he gives this giant speech? Do you have that?
I don't think so.
Oh, you got to get it. It drives me out of my mind. I saw this guy and I thought, you are such a fraud. But that's before I knew this. Let me read the words again. And you call John Boehner's office and you tell them, step down. If the Republicans cannot clean up their own lying, thieving politicians, the Republicans should not have your support. If the Republicans cannot get rid of John Boehner over this, again, a letter to Harry Reid's office that was not supposed to come out. So this is inner office and politician talk back and forth to each other. And it's not supposed to get out, but because the Republicans, there is no honor between thieves, because the Democrats were mad at John Boehner's office and everything that was going on, Reid's office decided to take it out. Good. Thank you, Harry Reid. It's the first right thing you have done, possibly in 5 years. A letter between Harry Reid's chief of staff and John Boehner's chief of staff, trying to set up a meeting with Harry Reid and John Boehner at the White House so they could lobby the president to cut them a special deal. Quote, this is John Boehner's chief of staff. We can't let it get out there that this is for Boehner and Reid to ask the president to carve out the requirement for Obamacare. This is really difficult, but I'm even okay if it's just the president hauling us down to talk about the next steps on immigration. I really don't care what he says it's about. It just cannot be about what we know it's about. Unbelievable. You call John Boehner's office and say, you're done. If you don't step down, I will work against you day and night. You call Louis Gohmert's office and say, Louis, I will work for you day and night. It's time we get some people who we know we can count on. You know, I didn't know, and Pat and I were talking about this, I didn't know we could count on Ted Cruz. I hoped, but Stu and Pat and I talked every time, and we said to him on the air, Ted, if you're not who you say you are, we're going to be your worst nightmare. And he's like, I know. And we didn't realize at the time his worst nightmare is his dad. That's the best thing. And he has turned out to be who he said he would. There's not many.
And more.
Right.
Maybe even more.
I think more. Louis Gohmert, we already know who he is. We've seen him battle. He keeps his soul. I called him last night and I said, Louis, would you be senator? Please, would you be senator? He said, it's amazing. He said, I'm getting a lot of calls since you started saying this, Glenn. Can I just ask you a question? Did you pray on this before you started this ball rolling?
What a great question.
What a great question. And I had to say to him, Senator, no, I didn't. I said, I have prayed on you before, and I know I'm supposed to support you. But you are the only one that can decide whether you're supposed to be senator or not. But I will tell you this. If you'll be senator, if you'll run, I'll do everything I can, because I am sick and tired of the people like Boehner. If you had any doubt about Boehner, you know who he is today. And all of the people that run with the John Boehners of the world, the Lindsey Grahams and the Cornyn's of the world, you need to send a very clear message. Enough is enough. We win. We win if we do this. We win.
And Louis Gohmert coming up later in the program.
Excellent. So he's going to announce that he's going to be...
Well, that is not what we're saying at this time.
That's what I'm hearing.
If
that's what I'm hearing. That's what America heard. I don't know if anybody else is doing this, but we're starting it on this program. Hashtag defund the GOP. It's time to defund the GOP. And I hope with everything in me, I pray that this is enough for the people who have been saying, I'm going to be with the GOP and I am a Republican. I hope this is the last straw with you, because if we haven't found our bottom after you hear this letter, if you don't find your bottom, if you didn't say, okay, well, these guys are completely worthless weasels who are lying to us, and I don't want to be in bed with liars, I don't want to fund liars, then I'm sorry, you're part of the problem too. You get what you deserve. This is officially my snapping point. I have had it with John Boehner. I have thought he was not a good guy for a very long time, not on our side. We all know that. We all know that. He's not a good guy, and we've all known that. But there's a difference between not a good guy, right, not on your side, and somebody who's knifing you in the back. I want to make it very, very clear. John Boehner is knifing you in the back, and there's no two ways about it. This is coming from his chief of staff. And if John Boehner actually can convince anybody in today's day and age that he did not know about this letter, he had no idea. You are an imbecile, and you may be making a case for Margaret Sanger saying that some people just shouldn't breed because you're an imbecile. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so here's the story that we gave you last hour, but there's more that we're going to add to this. Yesterday, the Democrats leaked an embarrassing email or two showing how the Republican House Speaker John Boehner hid his efforts to protect the long-standing health care subsidies for members of Congress and their staffs. Now, remember, there's no way for a Republican to get away with saying, hey, I know you have to join Obamacare, but we're not going to. I mean, that was one of the things. Make Congress abide by their own laws. Make them feel the pain that they have inflicted on all of us in every shape and form. Make them abide by the same laws. NBC actually ran a story yesterday, and I read it on the air on the TV show last night, and it's just outrageous. This is how out of touch the press is and the people of Congress. Basically, in a nutshell, the tweet was, Congress is now missing all of those people that they see every day but are now being shut out because of the government shutdown. And the example they used were the people that push the buttons in the elevators for the Senate and House members.
Yeah, in the doorman.
Excuse me?
The federal doorman and the federal elevator operators.
These guys are so out of touch, and NBC is right there with them, that they think we should have sympathy for the people who are not coming to work today on your tax dollars that push the buttons for the House members and the Senate members. If you can't figure out how to push a button and what floor you should be on, Senator, by yourself, if you really think that you should be spending money to have somebody push an elevator button for you on taxpayer dollars, you, Senator, are also making a case for Margaret Sanger and eugenics. You're too stupid to go to Washington. So, I'm sorry, I just want to use their own progressive language back at them. And they're heroes. So, here is the letter. He writes, or his chief of staff writes to Harry Reid about how they have to get in to see the president to save the congressional subsidies. They need to see the president and do some backroom, off-the-record deal. John Boehner's chief of staff writes, we can't let it get out there that this is for Boehner and Reid to ask the president to carve out the requirement of Obamacare. Got it? We can't let it get out. We have to find some way to get them to the president. Quoting, I am even okay if the president is hauling us down to talk about the next steps on immigration. I really don't care what we say it's about. It just can't be about what we know it's about. End quote. Hashtag, added by Glenn, hashtag defund the GOP. These people are lying thieves.
And the next part is even worse. The part that you didn't get to yet, where several sources in attendance at a meeting in mid-July with Boehner report that he wondered aloud at one point in the meeting whether they could quietly slip some language into the bill to end the problem without it receiving any public attention at all. He said, when I was in the state legislature, we used to stick things in bills and no one would notice. So he wanted to just slip something in there without anybody knowing and without any, a congressional rigmarole, without voting on it, without doing the proper steps along the way and getting the American people involved in the process. And apparently even his aide said, no, we can't do that. People will notice. We can't do that.
They have said that you are just a GOP shill. They also say that you are nothing but anarchists. I tell you now, I am neither of those. I am for hope and change. I am for transparency. I am for somebody saying what they actually mean. I'm saying I am for somebody going to Washington and fighting against this system in their own party and across the aisle and linking arms with anyone on any side that wants the same. If you happen to believe in healthcare, but you believe, let's have an open debate. And yes, these exchanges are going to collapse this system, but a single payer system is better. And you'll say that out loud? Good. I'll link arms with you. I'd rather have the argument. Let's have the actual argument. Enough of this kabuki theater. These people are beyond reprehensible.